Welcome to our deep dive into chemical thermodynamics. Today, we are focusing on work, a fundamental concept that explains how energy gets transferred when systems change. We'll start with the basics, then explore deeper calculations and connections to key thermodynamic laws. Finally, we'll look at its real-world competitive applications. Get ready for an exciting and insightful journey. Let's kick off with the fundamental concept of what work truly means in the realm of chemistry. We'll begin by defining work in a thermodynamic context. Work, symbolized as W, is simply the energy transferred when a force causes a displacement. Think of it like pushing a box. You're doing work. In chemistry, this often involves a gas expanding or compressing. It's crucial to remember the sign convention. If the system does work on its surroundings, like a gas expanding, work is negative. If the surroundings do work on the system, for example, compressing a gas, then work is positive. The common units for work are joules or liter atmospheres. The most prevalent type of work in chemical thermodynamics is pressure volume, or PV, work. This occurs when a gas changes its volume against an external pressure. Imagine a gas trapped in a cylinder with a movable piston. If the gas expands, it pushes the piston outwards, doing work on the surroundings. Conversely, if the piston is pushed inwards, the surroundings do work on the gas, compressing it. For processes occurring at constant external pressure, we can calculate PV work using the formula W equals minus P underscore external times delta V, where delta V is the change in volume. For instance, if a gas expands by 3 liters against 1 atmosphere, the work done is minus 3 liter atmospheres. Now, to solidify your understanding of basic work concepts, here are a few practice questions. Take your time to define thermodynamic work, apply the sign convention, and calculate work done under constant pressure conditions. These exercises will help you grasp the fundamentals before we move to more complex scenarios. Alright, let's deepen our understanding of thermodynamic work, exploring its nature and different types. An important characteristic of work in thermodynamics is that it's a path function. This means the amount of work done depends entirely on the specific path taken during a process, not just on the initial and final states. Think of climbing a mountain. The energy you expend depends on whether you take a steep, direct path or a winding, gradual one. On a PV diagram, work is represented by the area under the curve. Different paths between the same initial and final pressure volume points will enclose different areas, illustrating varying amounts of work. This contrasts sharply with state functions like internal energy, which only depend on the current state of the system. We categorize work into irreversible and reversible processes. Irreversible work occurs rapidly, where the external pressure is constant and significantly different from the system's internal pressure. This is the simpler W is equal to P underscore ext asterisk delta V calculation. Reversible work, however, is an idealized process that occurs infinitesimally slowly, maintaining equilibrium between the system and surroundings at every step. Here, the external pressure is always nearly equal to the internal pressure. Reversible expansion yields the maximum possible work from the system, while reversible compression requires the minimum work input. Its calculation involves integration, reflecting its path-dependent nature more accurately. For an ideal gas undergoing an isothermal, reversible expansion, we can derive a specific formula for work. Since temperature is constant, and P underscore internal equals nRT over V, integrating minus P underscore internal dV gives us W underscore reversible equals minus nRT natural log of V2 over V1. This can also be expressed in terms of pressures as minus nRT natural log of P1 over P2. This formula is vital for solving problems involving ideal gases under specific conditions. Additionally, remember that work is zero in isochoric processes where volume is constant, and in adiabatic processes, work directly equals the change in internal energy, as no heat is exchanged. Now, test your understanding of these medium-level concepts. These questions challenge you to differentiate between types of work, apply the formulas for reversible isothermal expansion, and understand work in various thermodynamic processes. Pay attention to the conditions specified in each problem, as they dictate which formula or principle you should use. Good luck! Let's elevate our understanding of work, delving into its derivations, comparisons, and fundamental connections. The derivation for reversible work starts from dW equals minus P underscore external dV. For a reversible process, the external pressure is always infinitesimally close to the internal pressure, allowing us to replace P underscore external with P underscore internal. Thus, integrating minus P underscore internal dV from initial to final volume gives us the work done. This P underscore internal is not constant and depends on the specific process and gas law. When comparing reversible and irreversible work, remember that for expansion, reversible work does more work on the surroundings, meaning its magnitude is greater. Conversely, for compression, reversible work requires less work input from the surroundings. This difference is critical for understanding efficiency limits. The first law of thermodynamics, delta U equals Q plus W, provides a fundamental connection between internal energy, heat, and work. It establishes that internal energy is a state function, meaning its change depends only on the initial and final states, while heat and work are path functions. They are simply two different ways to transfer energy into or out of a system. For a cyclic process, where the system returns to its initial state, the net change in internal energy is zero, implying that the net heat absorbed by the system must equal the negative of the net work done by the system. In adiabatic processes, there's no heat exchange, so Q is zero. The first law then simplifies to delta U equals W, meaning any work done is directly at the expense of or contributes to the internal energy of the system. For an ideal gas, delta U also equals NCV delta T. Therefore, adiabatic work can be calculated as NCV delta T. For reversible adiabatic processes, we also have the relation P1 V1 to the power gamma equals P2 V2 to the power gamma. This allows us to derive another expression for adiabatic work, NR times delta T divided by 1 minus gamma. Understanding adiabatic work is crucial for processes like engine cycles. These hard-level questions challenge your analytical skills. You'll need to derive expressions, apply the first law of thermodynamics, compare different types of work, and calculate work and temperature changes in adiabatic processes. Remember to consider the conditions, isothermal, adiabatic, reversible, or irreversible, as they dictate the appropriate formulas and approaches. Good luck in tackling these more complex problems. Now, let's explore work at the highest level, connecting it to advanced concepts, real gases, and engineering applications. Beyond simple pressure-volume work with ideal gases, thermodynamics recognizes various forms of work. For instance, surface tension work involves changes in surface area, calculated as gamma da, where gamma is surface tension. Electrical work, critical in electrochemistry, is given by E dq, linking electromotive force and charge. Elastic work, relevant for solids, involves stress and strain, like tau dl for stretching. These examples highlight that work is a generalized concept, an intensive property acting over a change in an extensive property. This broader understanding allows us to apply thermodynamic principles to a much wider range of physical and chemical phenomena. The concepts of Gibbs and Helmholtz free energies are deeply connected to the maximum useful work a system can perform. At constant temperature and volume, the maximum work, excluding PV work, is given by the change in Helmholtz free energy, delta A. More commonly, at constant temperature and pressure, the maximum non-PV work is given by the change in Gibbs free energy, delta G. This is why delta G is so important in electrochemistry, defining the maximum electrical work obtainable from a reaction. These free energies provide a powerful criterion for spontaneity and represent the theoretical upper limit of useful work that can be extracted from a process under specified conditions, crucial for designing efficient systems. Cyclic processes are fundamental to understanding engines and refrigerators. In such a process, the system returns to its initial state, meaning state functions like internal energy, enthalpy, and entropy have zero net change. According to the first law, for a cyclic process, the net heat exchanged equals the negative of the net work done. On a PV diagram, the net work done in a cycle is represented by the area enclosed by the cycle. This work is directly related to the efficiency of heat engines, which is defined as the ratio of net work output to the heat absorbed from the high-temperature reservoir. The maximum theoretical efficiency is given by the Carnot efficiency, which depends only on the temperatures of the hot and cold reservoirs, showcasing the limits imposed by the second law of thermodynamics on converting heat into work. The distinction between reversible and irreversible work is profound and directly linked to entropy generation. Irreversible work is always less efficient than reversible work. Specifically, the irreversible work done is equal to the reversible work minus a term proportional to the entropy generated due to irreversibilities. Since entropy generation is always non-negative according to the second law, irreversible processes always yield less work output during expansion or require more work input during compression compared to their reversible counterparts. This means that real-world processes, always being irreversible to some extent, inherently lose some potential for useful work due to factors like friction, finite rate changes, and heat transfer across finite temperature differences, leading to a decrease in overall efficiency. Prepare for the ultimate challenge. These first 5 questions demand a comprehensive understanding of work, extending to real gases, free energies, and the nuances of reversible versus irreversible processes. You'll need to apply advanced formulas, interpret thermodynamic principles, and connect concepts across different areas of chemical thermodynamics. Focus on precise derivations and careful application of conditions. Here are the final 5 questions, pushing your limits even further. These involve delving into adiabatic work, the role of entropy, and distinguishing between various types of work, including those relevant in engineering. Think critically about the implications of path functions versus state functions and how different thermodynamic potentials relate to work. Mastering these will truly solidify your expertise in the topic of work within chemical thermodynamics, preparing you for competitive examinations. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of work in chemical thermodynamics. I hope this journey, from the basics to the most advanced concepts, has illuminated this crucial topic for you. Remember, consistent practice and a clear conceptual understanding are your keys to success in GME. For more such comprehensive educational content, practice problems, and expert guidance, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more engaging lessons. Keep learning, keep growing.